Welcome back, y'all. Hope you've ridden today or you're about to go for a bike ride after this video. But in the meantime, today I'm gonna take my Pake Rum Runner fixed gear, which hasn't been on this channel for a long time, and switch it back to a Tracklocross build. Now, it's been quite some time since I've had this bike in a dedicated video and not a YouTube short, so I definitely wanted to bring this back to the spotlight because some of you might have thought that I've sold this bike or I just stopped riding Tracklocross. But this time around, two major factors inspired me to go back to a Tracklocross build, that being the double-sided SPD pedals and now the Gravelking 35C tires. Gravelking 33C EXT tires I had before did not equal to 33C. They were more like a 30C, which was pretty terrible on the gravel roads out here. But the last two things I do need to change on here is the gearing and a set of flat bars. So I'm gonna do that right now. Normally you would clamp the seat tube, but since this is a full steel frame set, it's durable and I'm gonna clamp the top tube. Now that I put these tires on, I actually just grabbed my calipers because I haven't measured it yet. And I know that they're about 45 PSI right now. So let me measure them, see if they are actually 35C tires. They're about 36.5 at 40 PSI. All right, 36.5, that's pretty close to what it states on the label. Again, my Gravelking EXT tires that I had on this before were advertised as 33C, didn't even come close to a 33C. They were only at 30C no matter what pressure I ran them. These are at 40 PSI again, but I'll probably lower it when I actually hit some gravel. So now, time for the gearing change. It's 5 in the afternoon and it's still 90 degrees in Florida, so you're gonna see me progressively get sweatier through this garage portion of the video. All right, so what I have is a 17-tooth cog for the rear. I have a 16-tooth right now, but that was more set up for road. And then also a 46-tooth chainring, and this is a 48. So that's why I'm gonna swap and go with that gear ratio. They're a little dirty right now, but it's Tracklocross, fixed gear, super durable, and it's gonna work regardless. All right, now here's the challenge. The chainring bolts are ready to be torqued down. Usually the nut on the back will stay into place so you don't have to use this goofy tool, but let's see if I get lucky and I don't have to use it. So far, so good. All right, I love when that happens. Next is gonna be taking the 16-tooth cog off and putting the 17-tooth cog on this. Now, I did not anticipate if the chain and the gear combination is gonna work with these fat tires, so we'll see. I don't wanna stick with the 16-tooth cog. I'll know that I'll have enough slack to pull the wheel really far back with the 16-tooth cog, but hopefully the 17-tooth works. Always use the wall trick. Always gets the lock ring loose. And the reason that was so easy is because I greased the threads. Always grease your threads. It should never be a struggle to initially thread the cogs on. Lock ring always reverse threaded. All right, the moment of truth. If the 17-tooth cog along with the 46-tooth front chainring will work with this chain and fat tire combo. I'm hoping it works. Yes, it totally fits. I'm so glad. But of course, first you gotta tension everything. Whew, I thought it was not gonna fit, but I'm so thankful it does. Everything looks good. There's just enough clearance in the chain stays. Also, I took the front wheel off to clean something real quick, put that back on, and now since it's gonna work, I'm gonna move on to the flat bars. All right, I'm done. And that is the beauty of fixed gear. I love it so much because it's so simple, easy to work on, swapping parts is a breeze. Of course, depends on your terrain. I mean, you can do fixed gear in hilly areas, but when I was in Vegas, especially the area I was living in, oh, that was a knee buster for sure. But check this out. Just to make it true Tracklocross, let me put a saddlebag on this. Yeah, I'm ripping this from my gravel bike, but there's something in the works with Redshift in regards to a bag on this bike, so stay tuned for that. Oh yeah, that's looking real good. All right, absolutely ready to go. I cannot wait to actually ride with a little bit bigger tires out there. Now, a few details real quick. I know the stem is a little bit long, but it still feels totally fine. I like that really aggressive, a little over the front wheel stance when I'm riding Tracklocross. However, I've been riding my gravel bike exclusively in all these trails out here, so I'm genuinely curious how I'm gonna feel going back to Tracklocross fixed gear. However, if you check out the timestamp, the video ain't over yet. Next scene, I'm gonna be riding Tracklocross after a few sessions and let you know what I think returning to it. All right, here we are, a few days later, and I'd love to talk about how this setup is treating me. So I'm on my way to a few local gravel rides, and right now I gotta hit up the street, and I'm running these tires at 32 to 35 PSI, and I really feel like that's the perfect all-around PSI for my area. So when I do have to ride on the concrete, it's decently fast. And then with the longer stem, I know my reach is a little bit more forward, but it allows me to grab the middle of the bars and get really aero, so that helps out as well. And speaking of the road, the 46-17 gear combination actually works out for me pretty well. It's a tiny bit spinny on the road, but it works for my legs. And then it's low enough for hill climbs and also gravel. Oh, and then also low enough to slow down without having to skid. I think tires are too expensive to be skidding right now. But with the gear ratio, to each their own, because what works for me might not work for you, might be a little bit different. See, I got some pretty decent hills out here, but with this final hill climb, the gravel road is right at the top. But in case you're wondering if you didn't catch my previous video with the Pake Rum Runner, I am running 165mm cranks. With these tires, I really don't feel a difference between the EXT model and the SKs. These SS tires work great on the gravel, to be honest. They really don't lose traction. I'm kind of surprised with how smooth the profile is. There is one catch with this first gravel road on my route. No matter what bike I have, there's a sand pit coming up, and usually I get stuck, but My Specialized Crossroads Cruise with its lowest gear can barely make it. I don't think I'm gonna make it here, but let me try. Oh, it's so hard. I couldn't make it. That's the thing with Tracklocross. There's way more situations where you're walking, but luckily it's not too far. But that does force you to ride stronger. A lot of the sections where there are other sand pits that I know of, I'll sprint before, even when I'm super tired. So yeah, it forces you to be stronger and faster without having a lower gear because you only have one choice. I apologize for committing the filming sin of shooting into the sun. But all the gravel roads run east to west. And if you don't ride in the morning, you're gonna hit a lot of rain in the afternoon out here in Florida. But what really helps though to make it in these sand pits and other rough terrain where you really gotta put the power down is these flat bars. In my last Tracklocross build, I stuck with the drop bars, which is okay. It wasn't the worst, but now I understand why people just stick with flat bars when they're riding Tracklocross. All right, crossing over a paved road just to get to the next gravel road. And again, why these 35C tires are such a sweet spot. You keep that speed up so good on the paved roads, and it takes so much shock absorption in the gravel roads too. I hate shooting into the sun. But yeah, with flat bars on Tracklocross bike rather than drop bars, there's just so much leverage and stability. Like I can continue to stand and not necessarily sprint and have just the most stable ride. But then also, just for you all, with the flat bars, it's way easier to skid. Even though I don't like it because I don't like prematurely ending a tire's life like that. Okay, I'm stopping and walking very slowly because there is seriously a billion little frogs here, and I do not want to squish 100,000 of them. When you live in Florida, you realize that the wildlife's not living in your backyard, you're living in the wildlife's backyard. So branching off real quick in regards to riding in Florida, everything is extremely moist and sweaty. I'm always dripping sweat. Wildlife is everywhere, so on a frequent occasion, you may swallow some bugs, some other things that I've quickly spit out. So just be aware of that. But then the sand, pretty much all the gravel roads I've come across so far is compiled of just sand, and it gets in your drivetrain and everything. But again, because it's single speed, I do hear a little bit of crunchiness, but I don't feel like there's a drivetrain loss of efficiency. So I'm not too worried about it, but I clean my drivetrain a little bit more frequently than normal. Okay, finally the sun is in front of me. I hate shooting with the sun behind me, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And with the dripping sweat comment, that's the reason why I don't wear a mic, because the sweat would drip directly into the microphone, I know it. Another thing I noticed with this longer stem and being a little more forward is I still have a bit of leeway where when I'm hitting sand, I can lean further back, because again, with these sandy gravel roads, you're carrying your speed no problem, and you'll hit sand pits and it will buck you. It'll buck you forward. And there's a lot of times where I've saved myself because I was sprinting and leaning back rather than forward like on the road. And with these Panaracer Gravelking SS tires, the front wheel washout effect is no different than my EXTs and the SKs on my gravel bike. So I'm really impressed with the front grip when I'm taking turns and it's a little sandy and loose gravel. Again, forgive me for the lighting because you gotta go in the morning. Otherwise, this rolls in the afternoon. it's not so much the rain, that's no big deal. It's the lightning that comes with the storms. Oh, and another thing with these wide flat bars is it really dampens the shock, especially with the washboard effect. The drop bars, you really feel them. It causes a lot of fatigue in my shoulders and neck, but I can ride way longer with these drop bars on here. And as far as the double-sided SPD pedals go, just get those. Don't get those single-sided ones that I have on my gravel bike. I'm only using them because I have them, but I don't even remember the model name because I couldn't care less about them. I'll put the model name below, but just avoid those if you're gonna do anything remotely off-road. Those are strictly only good for the road if you wanna use mountain bike shoes with your road bike. All right, one last sand pit I gotta get through, and then I really gotta get home because these storms are rolling in quick. But overall, with this Tracklocross setup, it is phenomenal. I'm gonna keep this setup for quite some time. Maybe I'll throw drop bars here and there, but with these Panaracer Gravelking SS tires, 35C, my gearing, the flat bars, 120 millimeter stem, it's just perfect. It's a perfect build. Dogs when you're bike riding, scariest thing. Scarier than those bees. But seriously, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing and giving it a like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them back. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.